welcome to this edition of Biz Tech Talk, hosted by Forbes Middle East in collaboration with GBM. I'm your moderator, Jessie Moore, and in this session, we're discussing the Oman 2040 vision, a digital infrastructure and big data as key pillars of Oman's future. With digital infrastructure as one of the strategic pillars, businesses are gearing up, of course, to face today's challenges amidst a constant shift in top priorities. Big data, of course, is central now to the economy and to implementing initiatives like smart cities, improving services. Of course, everyone wants faster services and better customer care. So how can Oman's prominent oil and gas, finance and banking sectors, transportation sectors make use of big data, of cloud technology, of digitization infrastructure to remain, of course, competitive and support the Omani government's vision? Today's guests are going to discuss all of these in addition to the challenges and the solutions their businesses and organizations are working on. I welcome our guests, Eddy Abboud, who's the CEO of GBM Oman, Ewan Macleod, who's the Chief Transformation Officer at Sohar International, Mostafa Zafer, who's the VP Cloud and Cognitive Software Middle East and Africa for IBM, and Mujahid Zadjaly, who's the GM IT and Operations at Bank Nizwa. Eddy, if you allow us to start with you, the Omani government has introduced a number of initiatives you're very familiar with to, of course, promote the tech adoption across the Sultanate. How crucial do you think these initiatives are from the government to, of course, host and support this transformation into digital? And how do you see the collaborations from your perspective with the government to help achieve Vision 2040?
Thank you for this beautiful introduction. Oman has developed something what we call the Oman Vision 2040. And as part of this vision is to include SMEs, private sector and public sector working together towards achieving a certain goal. And mainly that goal is to diversify the economy and make Oman flourish. So looking forward to 20 years from now, Oman has great ambitious goals to really achieve. And this wouldn't happen without the collaboration of all. When we say collaboration of all, meaning understanding what we need to achieve and work backwards towards achieving those goals. ICT is part of this, not just as an enabler, as a pillar to make sure that these growth goals are already attained. AI, big data is part of it. We're talking security, obviously, is part of it. But what's most important is the inclusion of everyone. And this is where comes the integration between all the industries together. And I'm not talking only about the government achievements towards 2040 and what's expected from the government. Also, what can we really do in terms of every industry, be it the oil and gas, be it the banking, and many others. So diversification of the industry is so crucial for the 2040 achievement. And during those, the time, 2019 and 2020, we witnessed lots of workshops between the public and the private sector to really come up with what could be the goals for short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. And this is something very exciting for all of us.
Okay, perfect. We're going to talk about the goals and the challenges that comes between, or when we talk about collaboration across sectors. Let me take these ideas to Mujahid. Of course, you're also familiar. You are with Bank Nizwa. You are a young, maybe business as well, and you have benefited from a lot of these initiatives. Can you tell us maybe how are the Omani government's initiatives translated into your organization, and how do you see your bank playing a key role in achieving Oman 2040?
I just give you an example of anti-fraud solution, which came from the government. Actually, it's coming from Central Bank and the ROP. Yeah. And for that, we went ahead and we implemented big data solutions, on Hadoop platform. And while implementing big data solution for anti-fraud monitoring, it actually made our life easy. The decision-making process became so simple, and the predictive analysis of the pattern of behavior of these customers are becoming very efficient for us, so that we can report back to the government authorities whenever any anomalies are going on. So, I mean, there is, of course, a lot of coordination required between the government and private sector. And
can you tell us, Mujahid, a little bit more about the platform itself to those who haven't heard about it?
This is working on Hadoop platform.
Yes.
Yes, and we have a solution taken by from Infrasoft. It is an Indian-based company, and we went ahead and we implemented some around 60 scenarios, different kind of scenarios on fraud monitoring, and that was possible just with the implementation of big data. I mean, if you go in a traditional way and implement the normal RDBMS platforms, it takes a huge amount of time. You know, the query time is very expensive in doing it in a very traditional manner. But bringing big data and you know, whereby it has the capability to read unstructured data and to report unstructured data very efficiently and very quickly.
Okay, let me take that to Ewan. We are talking a lot about big data, cloud technology. Now we just heard about monitoring financial transactions as well. What kind of efficiencies can be achieved by using cloud versus internal hosting? And can you give us some examples as well and illustrations of ways adopting cloud can help companies in different sectors?
Jesse, I think the most exciting thing for anyone working in the IT world in particular is speed. So with cloud technology, it's not your own. No, there are some negatives with that, but the major benefit here.
Later.
Well, let's get to the challenge later. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the cool thing with this technology is literally you're pressing buttons. You're pressing buttons on a control panel, and things just happen. So when it used to take 45 days to get a server, right? 45 days to get the server delivered. Okay, then it needs to be configured. So what you're adding is 50, 60 days, or in business days typically, of thinking, of waiting before you can do anything. So the benefit of accessing technology that's kind of sitting there waiting for you is fundamentally speed. That's really, really useful for almost every business. And when it comes to the financial sectors, it's my industry, generally speaking, speed is a crippler. It cripples your ability to respond quickly. And it also disappoints, right? Because people have to then quickly move from an agile mindset into okay, this is coming. Has the server, has the hardware arrived yet? No. Okay, but we still got the idea, and we still want to do things. Yes.
Yeah.
And you wait. Whereas with cloud, with cloud, you say, like, I think we probably need 2 servers. Okay, click, done. Wow. Okay, let's configure them. Yeah, so by the end of the day, you've tested the app, you've tested the concept, you've had a play. You're able to say, no, this does actually. Do you know what I want, Jesse? I want 3. I want 3 servers. Done.
Hey, if it were me, I'd give you 5. But
but see that's the flexibility of this technology. Or get a week down the line and realize you don't actually need 5 servers. We say, Jesse, thank you, if you don't mind. I'll keep 1. Just 4. So fundamentally, the flexibility and the speed is the major benefit.
Let me ask Mostafa, since he's in IBM, how many servers you'd give Ewan, and also what are the as much as he wants. Wow, I suppose you know each other from before. Mustafa, since we're discussing the same topic, from your perspective, there must be key factors you always maybe advise businesses to focus on before they consider moving into cloud. And we know cloud is now very customizable. It's not one size fits all. There's different sizes depending on the goals. What are the key factors you would advise? And if there's a process, like some sort of a clear framework, you should start with A, B, and C before you go ahead and make the shift.
Good. So hi everyone. I'm happy to be with you on this panel. So to your point, Jesse, yes, there are definitely key factors that will allow companies to take the right decision when it comes to the cloud. Cloud is I believe is not really the destination. Cloud is a mean to do business transformation. Cloud is a mean to do digital transformation. And not everything can go to a public cloud. And there are really factors that governs that, and we need to take care of it. One is the type of workload itself. Like, are we talking about a data that is very sensitive, cannot leave our premises in the organization? Especially when we're talking about banking industry, which is very, very regulated. There are workloads that doesn't make sense to leave our premise. Not only from a regulatory perspective, but even for other reasons, from investment that has been made already, for the complexity of the workload itself. So the type of workload becomes a key factor or a key decisive factor on does it make sense to move it to the cloud or not, right? The second one, and I mentioned, of course, is the regulatory requirements and the security requirements of the workload. And whatever we're trying to do from an application perspective, there are regulations that we have to adhere to, especially when we talk about government regulations and so on. And I believe Oman in specific, they are so big on data privacy, data sovereignty, and so on. And that has to be taken into consideration. And the third one, especially when we're talking about data and big data, something that I like to call the data gravity, right? Data gravity is very important. What does it mean, data gravity? It doesn't make sense that, so let's take one step back. If I want to use something, and I'll take the example about fraud that was Mujahid, I think, was talking about, which is very valid one. We need to assess what is the biggest portion of the data. Where does it live? Does it live in our premise, or does it live outside our premise? And based on which it does create a gravity, and we should not defy gravity. So if the majority of the data based on which I need to analyze is outside my organization, then yeah, it does make sense that I get the analysis outside my organization. But if the gravity is within my organization itself, then I need to bring the analysis back to my organization and create and maintain this data gravity. So those are the things.
Can I just interrupt you? I've not, because this is the first time I hear this term as well. Gravity. It means how can you give us maybe a quicker illustration? What do you mean by saying gravity?
Absolutely. And I will take two examples. One, which is Mr. Mujahid shared with us, which absolutely makes sense. This is data fraud, or when we talk about fraud of transactions, the majority of the data that I need is actually on-prem in the organization itself, right? Yes. Then the gravity of the data is within my organization.
I see.
If I take another example where we're trying to assess the sentiment analysis on the product that we launched, a sentiment analysis, the majority of the data I need to analyze is outside, it's social media data and so on. Then the gravity, it's outside the organization, right? And then to the second point that you mentioned, what are methodologies? And I believe it's in IBM, we have what we call a cloud adoption methodology that actually help any customers really assess and move the right workload to the cloud. And here I mean by the cloud is the public cloud, or sometimes the hybrid cloud, because it's very important to consider that not every cloud can be or has to be a public. It can be private still within my organization. But when we look at the cloud adoption methodology, there are three elements of it that we need to look at. We need to look at the organization itself, because we are actually breaking silos in the organization by adopting cloud. So the organization itself changes a little bit in the way it is structured. You will find that new roles get created when we really adopt cloud. The second one that we have to look at is the processes. The processes itself gets optimized to the point that everyone was discussing. It's about speed, right? So the speed comes as well from the processes. How can I speed the processes? How can I optimize the processes, whether it's a business process or IT processes or data processes, to make sure that we are providing the speed or providing more speed to the cloud adoption. And the third one is the people and the talent, because there are going to be changes in the skills that we have within the organization. The whole premise of cloud is innovation, right? So the skills that is needed is a bit different, and we need to think, how can we adopt new skills like design thinking, for example. How can we get even the IT team closer to the business? They need to be more of business users more than being IT, because somebody else is taking care of the IT right now, which is the premise of the cloud, right? So those are the couple of things that we covered when we talk about cloud adoption methodology in IBM.
Okay, so we've mentioned speed, agility, efficiency, probably better service. Okay, but all of you mentioned sensitivity and challenges, which will take me now to the second part of our conversation and maybe the crucial one. Okay, there are challenges associated with the cloud. Let me take the question to Ewan. I know you have a lot to say about this. So you've worked with sensitive data, of course, from clients in the private and public sectors, which raises a lot of concerns, like we've heard, about data security and what can cloud and cannot offer. So what is your approach to adopting cloud solutions while keeping all these data breaches security?
I think it's important when we're talking about transformation, Jesse, that you adopt a test and learn approach. So testing and learning. I think it can be alarming for many in an organization to say, right.
Yes, not with such sensitive data,
let's do
right?
it. Yeah, all of that really important stuff, put it over there. No, it's fine. No, so you have to, I think, adopt a methodology, as we heard there from Mostafa. Yeah, I think it's a very important technique there to say, look, okay, what are we going to look at? Why are we looking at this? How are we going to manage our incredibly sensitive data? And then how are we going to manage the expectations of our internal colleagues and then various different stakeholders, the customer? Your customer saying, so where are you storing my data? Who can access it? So it's incredibly important from a financial services standpoint to take these steps carefully and in a measured manner. But then I think what you're doing is saying, look, this core activity here, that's a deal breaker. This needs to stay very close to us, right here in the office, right here in the data center. Yet we are going to take care of this particular activity. This activity here, no, that's fine. This is it is internal only. There is no data. First of all, no data residency issue, no sovereignty issue, and it's just internal data. It's a number of coffees we're ordering, or it's something very, very low level security. There's no security aspect that can go out there. A great example in many financial institutions is the public facing website. Often that's the first one that the institutions are able to say, well, do you know what? Look at the public facing. It's public facing. Let's make sure it's managed correctly. But that we don't need to do that. Let's put that outside here. But when it comes to storing sensitive information, sensitive records, that we're going to keep that right here with the following protections. And even though technically there may be no difference between the infrastructures, it often feels better to have it physically near you. So I think taking all of these concerns and considerations in your planning, really important.
Okay, Mujahid, you're in the, yes, I was coming to you. I know you're in the middle of this conversation. You're a young bank, you're in the competition, and this is such a crucial question for you. Where do you store sensitive data such as this? Can you tell us maybe some of the process or the thinking that has led you to achieve this? And of course, I'd love to hear more about the strategy that has been for digitization in your operation.
Yeah. And unfortunately, so far, the sensitive data is with us. I mean, we are. I mean, it's not unfortunate.
That's good. That's fortunate.
Yeah, it's a fortunate part. But what happens is, I mean, as Ewan was explaining, time to deliver, time to order, time to procure, write an RFP, getting these servers back here. But again, you have one more thing, which is the housekeeping. You're gonna need people who will have to do the housekeeping for you. I just went back a bit. I mean, continuously, you need to upgrade your OS, you need to upgrade your DB, you need to upgrade your applications. If you have all of this in cloud, I mean, you are away from this kind of a job, and you can really focus on other important aspects of your strategy. So coming back here with regards to Bank Nizwa, what we have done is currently, we have moved our non-sensitive data. Like, for example, we are exploring WhatsApp banking. I mean, the FAQ part of WhatsApp banking is on cloud. I mean, you have the website like Ewan was mentioning, and then you have a lot of other initiatives which we are planning to do, which does not include customer data, sensitive data. I mean, those all we are planning to put them on cloud so that we can focus on other important aspects. But I mean, I have seen, I mean, some banks in Europe or in Australia, they have started moving customer sensitive data also in cloud. I mean, I feel maybe the cloud providers.
Too early, you think?
And I think it's not too early. It's just the comfort or the confidence the cloud providers will need to give to the regulators and to the bankers. I mean, we at the bank today, I mean, for us, the relationship between us and the customer is very important. I mean, the trust which we have between both of us, it cannot just go, you know, with one penetration. So maybe, I mean, the security control part of cloud solution, if there are some innovative ideas by cloud providers, whereby they will be giving the control maybe to the banks on this aspect to do the vulnerability assessment continuously, and hopefully, I mean, we will see some light. But currently, I mean, residing the sensitive data in cloud, I think it is a challenge.
Okay, I'm going to come back to Mostafa. I know you have a lot to say about this, but allow me to just pass by Eddy, please, who's been standing for a long time. You're standing up. Kudos to that. We're all sitting down. Eddy, you've heard a lot about the challenges. Mujahid, it still has some reservations about some of the cloud services from a GBM perspective. How would you address some of the challenges examples we've heard now?
Obviously, it's not only Mujahid. This is what we hear from all organizations in Oman. Let's not forget that in a recent publication from Gartner, they mentioned 95% of the CIOs are saying that security or cybersecurity threats are going to be worse.
Yeah.
So this brings back to the word trust, and in order to really address this, organizations are moving forward with I think there are three pillars that they are addressing. The first one is to make sure that they are transforming and adopting certain technologies that could be flexible to adopt to the new and maybe eliminate the current limitations in their security portfolio. The second one is to transform the organization and adding a function that is related only to security. So security is becoming like a really business function, not just an IT function.
Yes.
And the third one, which is just as a, imagine you are a cloud provider and you don't show really the trust. This really brings your business pretty much down. So in reality, security must be treated as a business enabler, growth enabler for the businesses. So these are three key pillars that needs to be addressed. Definitely, there are various solutions to address them, but this starts with the culture of the organization and the companies, also with the people, also with the investment that they are putting in place. And this is, I think, completes the cycle between the speed, the agility, and the investment as well.
Yeah. Okay, let me go back to Mostafa. I know now we're at the intersection of IT and security and businesses and services, but I'd like to get from you an idea or a better perspective on integration as well of new technology with legacy system. Of course, that has also been one of the major challenges we keep hearing about during a digital transformation. How has the experience been, do you think, in Oman specifically? And are the challenges different in the country due to its specific economic nature?
Yeah. So In Oman, I don't think that the challenges are different. I think they are similar. There may be some things that can be a little bit particular in Oman, but in the majority of it, it's more or less the same across different countries. And I try to summarize them into four main challenges. One, which not a lot of people talks about it, but there is a tacit knowledge in a lot of the applications and a lot of the processes that we created in-house. And usually if the answer that comes from one provider or cloud provider, let's rip and replace, because that's usually the easier answer. In a lot of cases, very, very hard to achieve, because there is application that has been written with a specific knowledge in specific people that was there for decades, right? That's very hard to try to understand it and rewrite it in a cloud native language or a cloud native applications. So tacit knowledge is very important that we have to consider. It's a major, major challenge, especially what we're talking about legacy applications that has been written for a while. The second one, which is, I believe it's a bit particular, not only in Oman, but I believe in the Middle East, we rely a lot on paper, right? So we are a paper-based system. So a lot of the information that we have is actually unstructured. And I think Mujahid rightfully pointed in the beginning of the discussion that big data was one of the answers how to handle unstructured data. But it goes even beyond the unstructured data we can put in a Hadoop. It goes to everything that we're doing on a paper. Can we understand the data that exists in our paper after we digitize? And I think Oman went in a long journey to digitize a lot of their papers in the last 2 decades in specific, which is something really good. But now it's about how do we leverage the data that we digitized. And then the other one, which is another important challenge, is do we really have to rip and replace the investment that has been done? We need to protect, once again, the investment, because there is a myth that if we go to the cloud or the public cloud in specific, it's going to be cheaper. Not necessarily, right? It can be more expensive in some cases.
Yeah, I heard the opposite myth.
Yeah, it can be expensive in some cases. But once again, it goes back to the workload, right? And it goes back to what type of data we want to move to the public cloud. And then what I'm concerned about, and I think everyone talked about security, which is absolutely important, but I agree with Eddy that security has to be an enabler more than an inhibitor. But the real challenge, I believe, not just the security, is really the regulations and the government regulations. And especially when we're talking banking, there is a lot of banking regulations that are very, very specific as well. And this is why, for instance, we focused in IBM in the last year or so, how can we build a cloud that is specifically for the financial sector, for the banks? Because it does have specific regulations that not any public cloud can actually deliver that type of regulations and security to the different banking industries, right? So those are the four main challenges that I see specifically in Oman, but they are generic as well. We can generalize in other countries.
So if I were to ask you how would IBM see the difference is only one initial between you two. How would IBM solve or counter these challenges? What would you consult on? What would you focus on?
Absolutely. What we focus on is really building a platform for the customer, a hybrid platform, right? A hybrid cloud platform that can be still on-prem or off-prem. They are linked together between the new cloud native applications and the legacy applications that we're building. And this platform needs to provide 4 different things. 1, modernize the applications that we have and build a new modernized applications using the new cloud native methodologies. Number 2 is to be able to create smart applications by infusing data and artificial intelligence into those applications. And number 3, by doing a lot of automation, right? Because we need to free up the time for low value tasks that can really be automated, whether in IT or business, so we can really focus on the innovation part. And then the 4th pillar is around security and regulations, is to be able to infuse the regulatory processes and the regulations needed into this platform and the security needed into this platform. So what we focus on is really the innovation, is the business side. And this is how we look at it in IBM, and everything, it has to be hybrid. We don't believe in one solution or one way that will fit everyone. It has to be hybrid, and this is how we look at it in IBM.
Okay, let me ask Ewan, what are you thinking specifically in your bank, Sohar? And correct me if this number is accurate or not. Vision 2040 aims to obtain an annual GDP growth of 5%. So how are you, is your bank working to support this number, to support entrepreneurs and SMEs? We've slightly mentioned, and how can they contribute to the larger goal of Oman 2040?
I think in almost every country, SMEs, small businesses they're the engine room of the economy. So I think it's no surprise that my colleague Manish, who runs our wholesale, our corporate division, is heavily focused on that. We have a whole team heavily focused on helping and supporting SMEs across the board. But I think there's a wider responsibility that the banks here in Oman and across the region have, and I think that is in testing, in learning, and encouraging and supporting new technologies, new ways of doing business. So, for example, digital signatures. The infrastructure here in Oman is very, very, very good. It's implemented already, more or less, and so it's incumbent upon our organizations to be stepping up and saying, right, okay, that's cool. That's part of the law now. Great. That's our responsibility to support that. So I think if we are doing the right things in supporting the economy, in being present, in creating the right efficiencies and the right speed in terms of working with customers, I think that's what we need to be doing. Then I think we can enable a lot of our customers to do more. I think almost or everyone here in this group, we're all focused on making sure we can make things as efficient as possible, as fast as possible, as sensible as possible, and as Mostafa was highlighting there, removing the paper. So one of the things that we're doing here in Sohar International is doing our level best to remove all paper as much as is possible. So we're scanning everything, all of those archives, right? We've all got them. We have these huge, big, massive, long, file storage, physical file storage. We're scanning them, digitizing them, getting them into a format where we can use them, we can consult them, and we can integrate them in one place. That's important. But it starts with our own attitudes to serving customers, and that's saying, how can we make things as efficient and simple for everyone? And I think if we can do that, then that's the first step towards supporting Oman.
Okay, I'd love to ask the same question or similar to Mujahid. We've mentioned customer experience at your bank, and Ewan ends on an interesting point on how to improve the customer experience. Can you give us an example of how your journey has been trying to mix cloud services with giving your customer a better, more digital, faster, better, safer experience?
Yeah, so I have joined Bank Nizwa very recently. I mean, it's almost now 9 months. So since I
congratulations,
joined,
it's been a tough year.
Congratulations, Mujahid.
Thank you. And since I joined the bank, the chairman and the CEO, they have a vision now to make Bank Nizwa the only digital Islamic bank in Oman. So what we are focusing on is we improve the efficiency, the productivity from the bank side. We don't want our employees, our customers to go and do transactions in the branches. We want all of them to come in the digital banking platform. So that's the vision we have, to make the bank the digital choice bank in Oman. And that will give us a chance to our customers. It will make them, they don't need to basically come and visit our branches, because our branches we have only 15 to 16 branches, and we have 90,000 customers. So it's not easy to serve all of them. I mean, we want banking to be available at their doorstep. So this is the plan or strategy what we have been working on, and for that we have some prerequisites. We have started revamping our infrastructure to make it digital ready. We are revamping our networking infrastructure, our hardware infrastructure, and also we are making our core, because everything you do in a bank, it all comes back to the core banking system. If your core banking system is not digital ready, then whatever solution you bring, it will be very difficult. It will be very difficult to roll out that solution. So we are making our core banking digital ready. We are upgrading. We are introducing new APIs on our core banking because it works on a version which is on 2-tier architecture. It's not on a 3-tier architecture. So we are doing a lot of initiatives. A lot of work is going on towards the digital transformation in countries.
Okay, great. Let me take that back to GBM. Eddy, you've obviously worked a lot with service providers. You know how crucial they are, and how crucial it is for them to apply digital transformation. Being a regional player, how do you see GBM supporting clients in Oman to bring the right technology at the right time, basically, for the clients?
GBM is a regional player indeed, and we share experiences from different countries. And since I manage only Oman, and it's a separate legal entity here in Oman, so it's a separate legal entity everywhere. But we enjoy this reach in the region to learn from each other's mistakes and successes, and how can we really replicate them. Service providers. I think what you mean by service provider is the system integrations, like a similar company like GBM. Yeah. And in this case, what we really do is be close to the customer, understands what's really their intention between their strategy and vision, and really what do they need to do on the short term and the long term. We plan together. And what we really strive and really very, very, very good at is the integration between systems. So it's not only the hardware solutions or software solutions, but mainly the integration part. And this is a very difficult skill to acquire. This is what we really feel that this is our strength. So when we talk about integration, we're talking about integration between organizations or within the organization. In banks in specific, for instance, for example, the majority of the integration is happening between the banks in Oman and the Central Bank of Oman. We're part of it. Or even within the bank itself, between different system integration. And I think Ewan mentioned the breaking the silos. This is exactly where integration comes in place and really benefit from putting the systems together, enriching the insights from data once the data is merged together in a way or another. Also, of course, taking care of the security and the infrastructure. What Mostafa Zafer mentioned is something extremely important. He mentioned the point of we're talking about modernization of application and make it cloud ready and blah, blah, blah. That's something very, very, very interesting. And this is the core of what we're focusing on right now at GBM, where we make sure that the infrastructure is somehow detached from the application, while we make it virtually ready for any kind of application. So we focus on the infrastructure separately. We focus on that layer which is in between that manages the infrastructure, but makes also those what we call them resources are ready to serve certain services, not just the application. Services within the applications. And this is what Mostafa was trying to mention with the modernization. And I think IBM, when they acquired Red Hat, I think that was one of the core strategies for IBM to move into the hybrid cloud. And Red Hat enabled that pretty well. And this is something we're all very proud of. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to Ewan, maybe on our last section of this talk, quickly to maybe give a quick look ahead. I mean, we're going to be talking about digitization for the next months and few years. Of course, it's a long-term goal. It's nothing that can be achieved overnight. What can you maybe give us a quick glimpse into Sohar's strategy for the next year on this long-term digitization journey?
Yeah, I think it's reflecting the customer here in Oman. We have a young population, and a population that is, I think it's probably accurate to say is very techno savvy, love the technology. So we're working hard to make sure that we are bringing the right services to market in response to the customer needs. So that's coming next year. You're going to see a lot of exciting output from the digital transformation agenda. So, for example, new apps, a new website, new e-banking services, and we've got a huge set of exciting things that I can't specifically list out here because we want to delight the customer.
I won't do that to you
at the right time. But basically, it's completely changing a lot of our infrastructure here to react to the customer demand.
Okay, for sure. I mean, it's been a tough year for everybody, and the look ahead might be one of the toughest questions for any business to answer. Let me see if Mostafa has anything to add on maybe IBM's look ahead for the next coming year when it comes to new services. What do you think? What glimpse can you give us into IBM Middle East strategy to fulfill all these goals we discussed?
So I'm going to bet on what Ewan has mentioned, which is really, it's a journey, right? So cloud is a journey, and I think every customer will have to go through it. We will have to have failures in order to learn fast. But the future for us will make cloud just as an enabler for our business. We're not going to, I believe in 1 or 2 years, the discussion will not be on the cloud, it will be given. The discussion will be only about new business models. And in order to do so, what we are trying to provide to our customer is really an open platform. And that's key, because this open platform, as Eddy was mentioning, we need to separate the infrastructure from all the applications and the new business models that we're trying to create. So we can have a flexibility, we give the customers the flexibility of using the right cloud with the right features at the right time with the right applications. So this is for us, the future is open, secure, and decentralized. Really, we believe the future is going to be a decentralized IT, right, where peace is going to be in different places. So that's where we believe the future will be. And then the second part is the industry aspect, because a cloud that will help banking or insurance or telco or oil and gas, they are different in regulations, they are different in a lot of different aspects. And the cloud has to be industry specific in order to cater for those specific requirements for those specific industries. So I believe that's going to be the future, industry specific clouds, and a cloud that is open, that is flexible, that is secure, of course.
Perfect. I believe this conversation can never end, really. Hopefully we can have more of this and continue this conversation also on all of our social media channels as well. This brings us to the end of this Tech Talk hosted by Forbes Middle East in collaboration with GBN. Gentlemen, thank you so much for all your insights and discussing challenges and solutions to the digital factors, and of course focusing on Oman 2040. I want to wish you all the luck. Thank you so much, and we'll meet again soon. Thanks again.